The great crystal palace of Kytheria floated in the void between three purple suns. Inside the throne room, Queen Zara sat alone on her chair made of living stone. The walls around her glowed with soft blue light, but the air felt heavy and dark. Zara's skin was not like human skin. It was covered in small scales that changed color with her feelings. Right now, they flickered between deep purple and angry red. When she was calm, they turned silver like moonlight. When she was happy, they glowed gold like sunshine. But no one had seen her scales turn gold for many years. The queen was tall and strong, with 4 arms instead of 2. Her people, the Kytherians, all had 4 arms and scales like hers. But Zara was different from all the rest. She had a power that scared everyone, even her own people. When Zara felt strong emotions, energy came from her body like invisible fire. This energy could break rocks, crack walls, and send people flying across rooms. Her people called these events fury storms. The stronger her feelings, the more powerful the storms became. For 3 years now, leaders from across the galaxy had sent their sons and daughters to marry Queen Zara. Marriage to her would create strong alliances between worlds. Trade agreements, peace treaties, and protection deals all waited for the right match. But every single suitor had run away in fear. Admiral Orcs from the reptilian worlds had lasted 2 days. He was a great warrior who had won many battles. His green skin was covered with scars from fights with space pirates. He thought he could handle anything the queen might do. On his second day at the palace, Zara had received bad news about attacks on her outer colonies. Her anger created an energy wave that threw Orcs through a window. He left that same night. Princess Vera from the Ice Moons had tried a different approach. She brought gifts of rare crystals and spoke softly to the queen. But when Zara's advisors suggested she marry quickly to stop the growing rebellion in her empire, the princess saw the queen's first real fury storm. The energy had turned the throne room into a frozen wasteland for 6 hours. Vera left before the ice melted. The worst attempt had been Prince Dex from the gas giants. He thought he could control Zara with his own psychic powers. He had trained his whole life to read minds and move objects with his thoughts. When he tried to force his way into Zara's mind during a formal dinner, her rage exploded outward like a bomb. The blast destroyed 3 palace towers and sent Dex flying into space. His guards had to rescue him with emergency ships. Each failed meeting left Zara more alone than before. Her advisors spoke to her with nervous voices. Her servants moved quickly and quietly through the halls. Even her closest friends kept their distance when her scales started changing color. The queen understood why everyone feared her. She had seen her own power destroy beautiful things. Once, during a moment of deep sadness, her energy had shattered a garden full of crystal trees that had grown for 1,000 years. Another time, anger at an unfair trade agreement had created a storm so strong it damaged the palace's main computer systems. But what hurt Zara most was that no one seemed to understand her power came from feelings she could not help having. When her people suffered from attacks by space raiders, how could she not feel angry? When other worlds treated her empire unfairly, how could she not feel frustrated? When she sat alone night after night with no one to share her thoughts, how could she not feel sad? The loneliness was the worst part. Zara had been queen since she was young. Her parents had died in a space battle when she was only 16 years old. For 10 years, she had ruled an empire of 50 worlds and billions of people. She made decisions about wars and peace, trade and exploration, life and death. But she had never had anyone to talk to about how these decisions felt. Her advisors gave her facts and numbers. Her generals told her about military strategies. Her scientists shared discoveries from distant worlds. But no one asked how she felt about any of it. No one wanted to know if the weight of ruling made her tired, or if she ever wished she could be a normal person living a simple life. On the morning when everything changed, Zara sat in her private chambers looking out at the stars. Her scales were dark blue, the color they turned when she felt empty inside. Her 4 hands held a cup of warm tea from her home world, but she had forgotten to drink it. A soft knock came at her door. "Your Majesty," called her chief advisor, Minister Toke. "The human diplomat has arrived." Zara sighed. Another suitor. Another failure waiting to happen. "Send him to the formal meeting room in 1 hour," she said. "Prepare the usual documents." But Minister Toke's voice sounded different. "Your Majesty, this human says he is not here to seek marriage. He says he comes only to create friendship between Earth and Kytheria." This made Zara pause. Every other visitor had come with marriage proposals and alliance offers. "What is his name?" "Alex Rivera, Your Majesty. He says he brings greetings from the United Earth government." Zara had heard little about humans. Their world was far from her empire, on the edge of explored space. They were a young species that had only learned to travel between stars 50 years ago. Most older civilizations considered them too primitive to worry about. "Very well," Zara said. "I will meet with this Alex Rivera." An hour later, Zara entered the formal meeting room wearing her royal robes. The room was large and bright, with windows showing the beautiful view of space outside. Long tables filled with food from many worlds lined the walls. Everything was designed to impress visitors and show the wealth of her empire. The human stood when she entered, but he did not bow as deeply as most visitors. He was shorter than most aliens she had met, with brown skin and dark hair. He wore simple clothes that looked practical rather than fancy. When he looked at her, his eyes seemed curious rather than afraid. "Your Majesty Queen Zara," Alex said in clear but accented Kytherian. "I am honored to meet you. Thank you for welcoming me to your beautiful palace." Zara took her seat at the head of the table. "Sit, Alex Rivera of Earth. Tell me why you have traveled so far to my world." Alex sat down across from her. Unlike other visitors, he looked directly at her face when he spoke. Most aliens avoided eye contact with her, especially when her scales started changing color. "My government sent me to learn about your people and your empire," Alex said. "We have heard stories of Kytherian achievements in science and art. We hope to establish trade routes and share knowledge between our worlds." "You do not come seeking marriage alliance?" Zara asked. Alex smiled, and his smile seemed real rather than polite. "No, Your Majesty. My leaders believe friendship between worlds should be built on mutual respect, not marriage contracts." This was a new idea for Zara. Every other species she knew made alliances through marriages, treaties, or shows of strength. "Tell me about your world, Alex Rivera." For the next hour, Alex described Earth. He spoke of blue oceans and green forests, of cities that stretched toward the sky and small towns where everyone knew each other. He told her about human art and music, about their struggles to learn to live in peace with each other, and about their excitement at discovering they were not alone in the universe. But what interested Zara most was how Alex described human emotions. He spoke of how humans felt joy and sadness, anger and love, fear and hope. He said these feelings were not weaknesses to be controlled, but natural parts of life that help humans understand each other and their world. "On Earth," Alex said, "we believe that feeling deeply is what makes us who we are. Our emotions drive us to create beautiful things, to fight for what is right, and to care for each other." Zara's scales had slowly changed from dark blue to lighter shades as she listened. "Other species see strong emotions as dangerous," she said carefully. Alex nodded. "Some humans think the same way. But most of us have learned that the danger comes not from having strong feelings, but from not understanding them or learning to work with them." As if summoned by his words, Minister Toke entered the room quickly. His face showed worry. "Your Majesty, urgent news from the Outer Rim colonies." Zara felt her stomach tighten. The Outer Rim worlds were always having problems with raiders and rebels. What now? The mining world of Keth 7 has been attacked again. 3 transport ships destroyed, 47 workers dead. The raiders escaped before our patrol ships arrived. Heat began building in Zara's chest. This was the 5th attack this month. Her people were dying while she sat in meetings and listened to empty promises from other worlds. The mining colonies provided materials needed throughout her empire, but they were too far away to protect easily. Have you identified the raiders? Zara asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The same group as before, Your Majesty. The Red Star Brotherhood. They demand we stop all mining operations and leave the Outer Rim worlds. Zara's scales began shifting toward orange and red. The Red Star Brotherhood had been causing trouble for 2 years. They claimed the Outer Rim worlds belonged to them, even though Kytherian colonies had been there for decades. They attacked supply ships, destroyed equipment, and killed anyone who stood in their way. And what do the other species say when we ask for help hunting these raiders? Zara's voice grew harder. Do the reptilian worlds offer their fast attack ships? Do the gas giant princes send their psychic trackers? Minister Toke shifted uncomfortably. They say it is an internal matter for the Kytherian Empire to handle alone. The heat in Zara's chest grew stronger. These same species sent suitors to seek marriage alliances, but when her people needed real help, they turned away. They wanted the benefits of alliance with her empire, but none of the responsibilities. 47 dead, Zara said, her voice starting to shake. 47 people with families, with children, with dreams. And the galaxy tells us to handle it alone. Alex Rivera had been sitting quietly during this conversation, but now he spoke. Your Majesty, may I ask who these Red Star Brotherhood people are? Minister Toke looked at Zara for permission to answer. She nodded, though her scales were now bright orange with red flashes. They are a group of mixed species who believe all mining operations damage space itself, Minister Toke explained. They think civilizations should not extract resources from planets or asteroids. They want all industrial colonies shut down. And they kill innocent workers to make this point? Alex asked. Yes, Zara said, her anger growing stronger. They claim they are saving the universe, but they are murderers. They destroy supply ships carrying food and medicine. They attack colonies that have existed peacefully for generations. The energy was building inside her now. Zara could feel it pushing against the inside of her skin like pressure from a deep ocean. Her scales flashed brighter red, and the air in the room began to feel thick. The worst part, Zara continued, her voice rising, is that my own allies do nothing. They send me flowers and poetry from their children seeking marriage, but when my people die, they say it is not their problem. Minister Toke took a step back. Other servants in the room moved toward the doors. They knew the signs of an approaching fury storm. Your Majesty, Minister Toke said carefully, perhaps we should continue this discussion later. But Zara was beyond listening to careful words. The heat inside her had become fire, and the fire was spreading through her whole body. Her scales blazed red like burning metal. Later, she shouted, standing up from her chair. While we talk later, more of my people die. While we make careful plans, raiders destroy more colonies. While I sit here being polite to visitors, the Red Star Brotherhood laughs at our weakness. The energy exploded outward from her body like an invisible bomb. The windows of the meeting room cracked. The tables loaded with food shook and several dishes fell to the floor. The lights in the ceiling flickered and dimmed. Minister Toke and the servants ran from the room, but Alex Rivera did not move. The energy storm grew stronger. Zara's anger at the raiders mixed with her frustration at her allies and her loneliness as a ruler. Years of held-back emotions poured out of her at once. The cracks in the windows spread wider. The food tables slid across the floor. Even the heavy stone chair she had been sitting in began to shift. Through the chaos of her fury storm, Zara saw Alex still sitting calmly at the table. His hair was blown back by the energy waves and his simple clothes flapped like flags in a strong wind. But his eyes remained fixed on her face, and his expression showed no fear. Why do you not run? Zara shouted over the noise of cracking stone and groaning metal. Alex raised his voice to answer her, but kept his tone gentle. Because you are not angry at me. You are angry at people who hurt your citizens and allies who abandon you when you need help. The storm continued to rage around them. More windows cracked, and pieces of the ceiling began to fall. But Alex sat still and kept talking. On Earth, we have learned that anger is often love in disguise, he said. You are angry because you love your people and want to protect them. There is nothing shameful in that. Zara had never heard anyone describe her rage this way. Everyone else called it dangerous, destructive, uncontrolled. But Alex made it sound like something natural and understandable. My emotions destroy things, she said, gesturing at the damaged room around them. Your emotions are powerful because your feelings are deep, Alex replied. The question is not how to stop feeling, but how to use that power to protect what you love. For the first time in years, someone was not telling Zara to control her feelings or hide them away. Instead, Alex seemed to think her strong emotions were valuable. The idea was so new and strange that it made her stop and think. As she thought, the energy storm began to slow down. The windows stopped cracking. The furniture stopped moving. The air grew lighter and easier to breathe. Zara looked around at the damaged meeting room. I have destroyed another beautiful space. You have shown how much you care about your people, Alex said. The room can be repaired. Your dedication to protecting them is far more valuable. Zara's scales slowly shifted from bright red back toward orange, then yellow. No one had ever described her fury storms as dedication before. Tell me, Alex Rivera of Earth, she said, sitting back down in her chair. How would humans handle raiders like the Red Star Brotherhood? Alex thought for a moment. We would start by understanding why they do what they do. Then we would look for ways to solve the real problem while stopping the killing. You would not simply hunt them down and destroy them. We might have to fight them if they would not stop killing innocent people, Alex said. But we would try other approaches first. Sometimes enemies become friends when they feel heard and understood. This was another new idea for Zara. In her experience, problems were solved through strength, treaties, or trade agreements. The idea of understanding enemies was strange but interesting. You think very differently from other species I have met, she said. Alex smiled again. Humans are still learning how to live with each other and with other species. We make many mistakes. But we have learned that understanding usually works better than force alone. As they continued talking, Zara found herself relaxing for the first time in months. Alex asked thoughtful questions about her empire and listened carefully to her answers. He did not offer empty flattery or make promises he could not keep. He simply seemed interested in learning about her world and her challenges as a ruler. When the palace clocks chimed to mark the end of the day, Zara realized they had been talking for hours. Her scales had shifted to a calm blue-green color she had almost forgotten she could make. I have enjoyed our conversation, Alex Rivera, she said. Will you stay at the palace tonight? We can continue our discussion tomorrow. I would be honored, Your Majesty, Alex said. As he left the meeting room, Zara looked around at the damage her fury storm had caused. Cracked windows, scattered furniture, and fallen ceiling pieces surrounded her. But for the first time, the destruction did not fill her with shame. Instead, she found herself thinking about what Alex had said. Her emotions were powerful because her feelings were deep. Her anger came from love for her people. These ideas turned everything she had believed about herself upside down. That night, as Zara lay in her chambers looking out at the stars, her scales glowed soft silver. For the first time in years, she felt something that might have been hope. Tomorrow, she would talk more with the human who did not run from her storms. Tomorrow, she might begin to understand that being alone was a choice, not a punishment for having powerful feelings. Tomorrow, everything might change. The next morning, Alex found Queen Zara in her private garden. This was a place few visitors ever saw, hidden deep inside the Crystal Palace. Strange plants from many worlds grew here in careful patterns. Some had leaves that sang when the wind touched them. Others bloomed with flowers that glowed like tiny stars. Zara stood beside a pool of water that reflected the three purple suns above them. Her scales were pale green, a color Alex had not seen before. She held a small cup of tea in her lower set of hands while her upper hands worked with the soil around a young tree. "Good morning, Your Majesty," Alex said as he approached. Zara looked up and smiled. It was the first real smile Alex had seen from her. "Please, in this garden, call me Zara. This is my private place where I come to think." Alex looked around at the beautiful plants. "It must be peaceful here." "It was the first thing I created with my power that did not break," Zara said softly. "After my parents died and I became queen, I was so angry and sad that my energy destroyed everything I touched. But one day, I came to this empty room and my emotions poured into the soil instead of breaking things. The plants grew faster and stronger because of it." This gave Alex an idea, but he kept it to himself for now. "May I ask what you have been thinking about?" Zara's scales shifted to a warmer green. "About what you said yesterday. That my anger comes from love for my people. I stayed awake most of the night wondering if you were right." "What did you decide?" "I think you understand something about emotions that my own people do not," Zara said. "We Kytherians are taught to see strong feelings as problems to be solved or controlled. But you speak of them as natural and valuable." Alex sat down on a bench near the pool. "On Earth, we learned this lesson slowly and with many mistakes. For a long time, humans also thought emotions were weaknesses. We built societies that told people to hide their feelings and never show anger or sadness or fear. What happened? We became sick in our hearts and minds," Alex said. "People felt alone even when surrounded by others. They made bad decisions because they ignored their feelings instead of learning from them. Wars started because no one talked about their anger until it exploded." Zara set down her teacup and sat beside him on the bench. "How did you change this?" "We learned to listen to what our emotions were trying to tell us," Alex explained. "Anger usually means something important to us is being threatened. Sadness often means we have lost something valuable. Fear warns us of danger. These feelings are not problems, they are information." As Alex spoke, Zara's scales began to glow brighter. "So when I feel angry about the Red Star Brotherhood attacks, your anger is telling you that your people's safety is very important to you," Alex finished. "The feeling itself is not wrong. The question is how to use that information to protect them better. But my energy still destroys things when I feel strongly." Alex turned to look at her garden around them. "Does it? Or does it do exactly what you need it to do when you understand what you need?" Before Zara could answer, Minister Toke appeared at the garden entrance. His face looked worried again. "Your Majesty, forgive the interruption, but we have received a communication from the Red Star Brotherhood." Zara stood quickly, her scales shifting toward orange. "What do they want now?" "They demand to speak with you directly. They say if you do not agree to shut down all mining operations in the Outer Rim within 10 days, they will destroy every transport ship and space station in the sector." The familiar heat began building in Zara's chest, but this time she noticed it differently. The feeling was giving her information, her people were in danger and she needed to act. "What do my advisors recommend?" she asked. "The military council wants to send our entire fleet to hunt them down," Minister Toke said. "The diplomatic council suggests asking the other species for help again." Zara felt her anger growing stronger. The same old solutions that had not worked before. Her scales flashed brighter orange with red edges. Alex stood up beside her. "Your Majesty, may I ask what you want to do?" The question surprised both Zara and Minister Toke. No one usually asked the Queen what she wanted, only what was practical or traditional or safe. "I want to talk to them," Zara said without thinking. Then she paused, surprised by her own answer. I want to understand why they think killing innocent people will save the universe. Minister Toke looked shocked. Your Majesty, the Red Star Brotherhood are terrorists. You cannot negotiate with them. Alex, Zara said, turning away from her advisor, what would humans do in this situation? Alex thought carefully before answering. We would try to understand their real concerns while making it clear that killing innocent people is not acceptable. Sometimes enemies fight because they feel unheard or desperate. If we can address their real needs, the violence might stop. And if they refuse to stop killing people, then we would use force to protect the innocent, Alex said simply. But we would try understanding first. Zara made her decision. Minister Toke, arrange for me to speak with the Red Star Brotherhood leaders. I will hear what they have to say. Your Majesty, this is very dangerous. What if it is a trap? Then we will be ready for a trap, Zara said. But first, I want to try something different. Minister Toke left to make arrangements, shaking his head in worry. When he was gone, Alex and Zara walked back through the garden together. Do you think I am making a mistake? Zara asked. I think you are being brave enough to try something new, Alex said. That takes courage. 2 days later, the meeting was arranged. The Red Star Brotherhood agreed to speak with Queen Zara through secure video communication. They would not reveal their location, but they promised to listen to what she had to say. Zara prepared for the meeting in her throne room. She wore simple robes instead of her royal finery. Alex sat nearby as an observer, along with Minister Toke and 2 military advisors. When the communication began, 3 figures appeared on the large screen. They wore masks that hid their faces, but Zara could see they were from different species. One looked reptilian, one appeared to be from the gas giants, and one seemed to be from a species she did not recognize. Queen Zara of Kytheria, said the reptilian figure in a rough voice. We know you as the destroyer who rages when angry. Why do you want to speak with us? Zara felt her scales warming with irritation, but she remembered Alex's words about anger being information. Her anger told her these people had insulted her, but more importantly, they had killed her citizens. I want to understand why you believe killing innocent workers will save the universe, she said calmly. The 3 figures looked surprised. They had clearly expected threats or demands. The mining operations destroy everything they touch, said the figure from the gas giants. They tear apart asteroids that have existed for billions of years. They drain planets of resources that can never be replaced. They poison space itself with their machines and chemicals. And the workers who operate these mines? Zara asked. Do they deserve to die for this? They choose to work for the destroyers, said the 3rd figure in a voice Zara could not identify. They are not innocent. The workers are people with families who need food and shelter, Zara replied. Many come from poor worlds where mining jobs are the only way to survive. They do not make decisions about where to mine or how to mine. They simply do the work they are given. The Red Star Brotherhood leaders were quiet for a moment. Finally, the reptilian one spoke again. You speak differently than we expected, Queen Zara. But words do not change the fact that your empire destroys worlds for profit. You are right that mining can cause damage, Zara said, surprising everyone in the room. But killing workers does not stop the mining. It only creates more suffering. What would you have us do instead? Asked the gas giant figure. Your people ignore our protests. Other species laugh at our concerns. Violence is the only language anyone understands. Alex leaned forward slightly, and Zara noticed. She remembered his words about understanding enemies. What if there was another way? Zara asked. What if we could find mining methods that did not damage space or planets? What if we could protect the things you want to save while still providing resources people need to live? The 3 figures looked at each other through their masks. You would do this? Asked the unidentified speaker. I would be willing to try, Zara said. But first, you must stop killing innocent people. We cannot build solutions while workers are dying. The conversation continued for over an hour. Slowly, the real concerns of the Red Star Brotherhood became clear. They were not simply terrorists who enjoyed violence. They were people from species whose home worlds had been damaged by careless mining in the past. They had tried legal protests and peaceful requests for changes, but no one had listened to them. Their violence came from desperation, not evil. When the communication ended, the Brotherhood leaders promised to consider Zara's offer. They would stop their attacks for 30 days while talks continued, but they wanted to see real action, not just more promises. After the screen went dark, Minister Toke looked amazed. Your Majesty, in one conversation you accomplished more than our military has managed in 2 years. But Zara was not celebrating yet. Now we must do the hard work of keeping our promises. Alex, your people have experience with mining technologies, yes? Yes, Alex said. Earth has developed methods that cause much less environmental damage. We could share these techniques with your empire. And the Brotherhood's concerns about protecting ancient asteroid fields and rare planetary formations? Those could be declared protected zones, Alex suggested. Like nature preserves on Earth. No mining allowed, but plenty of other places where resources can be extracted safely. For the first time, Zara felt hope that the Red Star Brotherhood problem might be solved without more bloodshed. But that hope was tested 3 weeks later when urgent news arrived from the Outer Rim. A group of young Red Star Brotherhood members had rejected their leader's decision to stop attacks. They called themselves the True Brotherhood and claimed the older leaders were weak for talking instead of fighting. They had just attacked another mining colony, killing 12 workers. When Zara received this news, her fury was immediate and overwhelming. After weeks of careful diplomacy and building trust, these new extremists had destroyed everything with one violent act. The energy exploded out of her before she could think to control it. In the communication room where she had received the news, windows shattered instantly. Computer screens cracked and went dark. The metal table in the center of the room folded in half like paper. Minister Toke and the other advisors ran from the room as the fury storm grew stronger. Pieces of the ceiling began falling as the building itself groaned under the pressure of Zara's rage. But Alex did not run. Instead, he walked closer to her as energy waves crashed around him like invisible ocean storms. His clothes whipped in the psychic wind and his hair flew wildly around his face, but he kept moving toward her. Zara, he called over the noise of breaking things. I know you are angry. They destroyed everything, she shouted back. Weeks of careful work, gone. 12 more people dead. And for what? Because young fools think violence is stronger than understanding. You are right to be angry, Alex said, coming closer still. Those people chose to kill instead of build. They threw away the chance for peace that you created. The validation of her feelings somehow made Zara's rage burn even hotter. More ceiling pieces fell. The floor beneath their feet began to crack. I should have sent the fleet from the beginning, Zara cried. I should have hunted them down and ended this before more people died. Maybe, Alex said. He was close enough now that she could see his face clearly through the chaos of her storm. But then you would never have learned that most of them wanted peace. You would never have discovered that enemies can become allies when someone listens to them. What good does that knowledge do me now? Alex took another step closer. The energy around Zara was so intense that it should have thrown him backward, but somehow he kept moving forward. It means you know the difference between people who fight from desperation and people who fight because they enjoy causing pain, Alex said. The True Brotherhood are not the same as the Red Star Brotherhood leaders you spoke with. They all kill innocent people. Yes, Alex agreed. But one group might change if given the chance. The other group has chosen to continue killing even when offered a better way. Zara understood what he meant, but her rage was still burning too hot for careful thinking. So what do I do with this anger? How do I use it to protect my people? Alex was close enough now to reach out and touch her, but the energy storm would have been dangerous for anyone else. Instead, he stood just outside the worst of it and spoke in a voice full of calm certainty. You use your anger to fuel your determination to stop the true brotherhood while continuing to build peace with the real Red Star Brotherhood, he said. You let your rage remind you why both peace and justice matter. And how exactly do I do that? The same way you made this garden, Alex said, gesturing around them even though they were not in the garden anymore. You pour your energy into creating something good instead of just destroying something bad. As Alex spoke, Zara began to understand what he meant. In her garden, her emotions had helped plants grow strong and beautiful. Here in the communication room, her emotions were only breaking things. But what if there was a third option? Alex, she said, her voice still shaking with anger but growing more thoughtful. What if I could use this energy to help our people instead of just destroying our enemies? What do you mean? Zara's mind was working quickly now, even through her rage. The true brotherhood can only operate because they hide in the asteroid fields of chaos. Our patrol ships cannot search there effectively because the rocks interfere with our sensors and navigation systems. So they have a safe place to plan attacks and hide after them, Alex said, understanding. But what if the asteroid fields were not chaotic anymore? Zara asked. What if someone could use energy to move the rocks into stable patterns that our ships could navigate through? Alex's eyes widened as he understood what she was suggesting. You want to use your power to reorganize an entire asteroid field? I want to use my anger at these killers to take away their hiding places, Zara said. Instead of just breaking things, I want to build something that protects my people. The idea was so ambitious that it seemed impossible. But as Zara thought about it, her fury began to transform into something else. The destructive energy of rage became the constructive energy of determination. The storm around them started to calm as Zara focused her thoughts. Instead of random destruction, she began to imagine precise control. Instead of expressing anger through breaking things, she would channel it into protecting people. It has never been attempted before, she said, her scales shifting from bright red toward determined orange. Using emotional energy for such a large construction project. But you have used your power to help your garden grow, Alex pointed out. This would be the same idea, just much bigger. As her energy storm faded, Zara looked around at the damaged communication room. Then she looked at Alex, who had stood beside her through the worst of it without running away. You really believe I can do this? She asked. I believe your power comes from how deeply you feel, Alex said. And I have never met anyone who feels more deeply about protecting the people they care about. Something shifted in Zara's heart at those words. For her entire life, she had believed her intense emotions were a burden that separated her from others. But Alex saw them as a strength that could help people. Without thinking about it, Zara stepped toward Alex. The last wisps of energy from her storm swirled around them like a gentle breeze. For the first time in years, someone had stood with her through her deepest anger and come out stronger, not weaker. Alex, she said softly, why do you stay when others run? Alex looked into her eyes, and his expression was completely serious. Because you are not dangerous to people who care about the same things you care about. You are only dangerous to people who threaten what you love. And what do you think I love? Your people. Justice. Peace that comes from understanding rather than fear. Alex paused, then added even more quietly, the possibility that someone might see your strength and stay beside you instead of trying to control it or run from it. The words hung in the air between them like a bridge waiting to be crossed. Zara realized that Alex understood something about loneliness that even she had not fully recognized. She had been alone not just because of her power, but because no one had ever seen her power as something beautiful instead of something frightening. Alex, she said, stepping even closer to him. When I reorganize the asteroid fields, I will need someone beside me who is not afraid of strong emotions. Someone who can help me stay focused on creation instead of destruction. I would be honored to help you, Alex said. It will be dangerous. The amount of energy required could be overwhelming. If I lose control. Alex took the final step that brought him close enough to touch her. Gently, he placed his hands on her upper arms, the first time anyone had voluntarily touched her during or after an emotional storm. Then we will face that danger together, he said simply. For Zara, the touch was like lightning, but lightning that warmed instead of burned. Through the contact, she could feel Alex's calm certainty and his complete lack of fear about her power. But more than that, she could sense his genuine care for her as a person, not just as a queen or a political ally. You are not afraid of me, she said with wonder. I am not afraid of you, Alex confirmed. I am inspired by you. Standing there in the damaged room, with broken glass around their feet and the smell of burned electronics in the air, Zara finally understood what the human had brought to her world. Not just a different approach to diplomacy or innovative technology, but a completely new way of thinking about strength and vulnerability. Alex saw her power as beautiful rather than terrible. He saw her emotions as valuable rather than dangerous. Most importantly, he saw her isolation as a choice that could be changed rather than a permanent punishment for being different. As these realizations filled her mind, Zara felt her scales begin to change color again. But this time, they did not shift to angry red or calm blue. Instead, they began to glow with soft, warm gold, the color of happiness that no one had seen from her in years. Alex Rivera of Earth, she said, her voice full of wonder at her own feelings. I think you have taught me something more valuable than new mining techniques or diplomatic strategies. What is that? You have taught me that being powerful does not mean being alone, Zara said. And that the right person will not run from your storms, but will stand in them with you and help you turn them into something beautiful. Alex smiled, and his smile was brighter than any Zara had seen before. Does this mean you would like me to stay on Kytheria for a while longer? Instead of answering with words, Zara wrapped all four of her arms around Alex and held him close. For the first time in her adult life, she was touching another person not in greeting or ceremony, but in genuine affection and trust. Alex wrapped his own arms around her in return, and in that embrace, Zara felt something she had almost forgotten existed, the simple joy of not being alone. When they finally stepped apart, both of them were smiling. Outside the broken windows of the communication room, the three purple suns were setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange that matched the warm glow of Zara's scales. Tomorrow, Zara said, we begin planning the asteroid field project. But tonight, would you like to join me in my garden? I would like to show you how my energy looks when it helps things grow instead of breaking them down. I would love that, Alex said. As they walked together through the Crystal Palace toward Zara's private garden, both of them knew that something fundamental had changed. The lonely queen had found someone brave enough to stand beside her through her storms. The human diplomat had discovered that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from avoiding powerful emotions, but from understanding and embracing them. Behind them, Minister Toke and the other advisors emerged from their hiding places and began to survey the damage to the communication room. But they also noticed something else. For the first time in years, they could hear Queen Zara laughing. The sound echoed through the halls of the Crystal Palace like music, promising that the age of the lonely queen was finally coming to an end. And in the vast space around Kytheria, word began to spread that the human diplomat had accomplished what no other suitor had managed. He had not only survived the queen's fury storms, but had somehow convinced her to turn them into something beautiful. The galaxy watched with amazement as the most feared and isolated ruler in known space prepared to reshape the very stars themselves, with a human standing beside her as partner and friend. The age of Queen Zara's loneliness was over. The age of her greatest achievements was just beginning.